agent. And I'm going to sit down with Dak Prescott, and we're going to have a discussion. So here you go. All right, Dak, I know you want long-term security, but just hear me out. When I was a little kid, my mom and dad used to yell and scream. They fought a lot. And the design of our house, I heard almost all of it. Even one time, my mom threw a ring at my dad, and it bounced down the stairs. So when they got a divorce, initially I was scared. But then I realized my stepdad and my mom never yelled. He became my Little League coach. And the house was quiet again, and it wasn't as scary. Divorces are often seen as a bad thing, but sometimes it's a more comfortable landing. Dak, I want you to think about this. What's the recipe for Super Bowls? An A coach and a top general manager. It's what Brady had this last year in Tampa. What Brady had for years in New England. It's what Peyton Manning had. Ben Roethlisberger in his prime. Dak, if you sign a long-term deal, your coach is Mike McCarthy, and your general manager is your 77-year-old owner. But, Dak, I want to take it a step further. I know you view the franchise tag as a bad thing. And I know you think to yourself, what if I go to market? It'll probably be to these awful teams, because that's the way it is every year, right, Dak? The teams that need quarterbacks, it's always like Jacksonville and Detroit, Cincinnati. But, Dak, in 1 year from today, something strange is happening. These three teams have not resolved their quarterback issue and likely won't by next year. The Saints, the Patriots, and the 49ers. Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, and Kyle Shanahan. Unless Garoppolo gets traded in the next few weeks, they'll be looking for a quarterback in a year. Cam's probably coming back to New England. There's a story today. The Patriots don't like the free agent options, and they're too deep in the draft to get one of the top three quarterbacks. And the Saints, we all know they've got no cap space. And, Dak, not only those three, but there's another 4 to 5 teams with great rosters that they may need a quarterback in 2022. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Denver, Miami, Chicago. Miami doesn't have a great roster. It's good. With one more draft, it'll be great. And let me throw this at you, Dak. You made $31.4 last year with a franchise. You'd make $37.1 this year with it. That would be $69 million. Then you'd hit the market. And, Dak, never forget, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL the last 6 years, guaranteed cash money. It's not Brady, it's not Rodgers, not Russell Wilson. It's Kirk Cousins, $192 million. That's a lot of lettuce. He played tag and won. In fact, he played it twice. So, Dak, think about that. What's a Super Bowl recipe, and what and who needs a quarterback in 1 year? For the first time as an agent in my life, it's not the bad teams. The bad teams over the last 2 years have all gotten quarterbacks in an emerging quarterback college market. Also remember, Dak, as your agent, this year's a great crop of quarterbacks out of college. Next year is predicted to be the weakest in a decade. More leverage for you. And Kirk Cousins talked to Dak not that long ago about being franchise tagged.
Well, the only piece I've said to him in crossing his path, going back maybe a couple off seasons, was just to make the point that the franchise tag can be your friend. You know, it can be a help to you if that's the route you choose to go. You know, he played on the franchise tag this past year. I think he's in a great spot now. Everybody knows he can play, that he's an elite quarterback. And, you know, really the ball is more in the court of the Cowboys and what they want to do going forward. But I think it's a no-brainer that Dak's the real deal and is going to have a great career moving forward. And, you know, he's in a really good spot.
As your agent, Dak, strongly consider a 1-year deal and going to market next year. All right, this is interesting. It continues to be a drama that won't go away, but it's a new drama, unlike Dak's contract. It's Russell Wilson. Mike Silver, who comes on this show, very good NFL reporter, says the Seahawks are willing to listen to trade offers for Russell Wilson. It would be a massive cap hit. I don't think it would happen. But the Seahawks, according to Silver, are upset that Russell Wilson has taken it public. Yes, I can understand why after 9 years of always saying, go Hawks, Russell Wilson finally has an opinion and Seattle doesn't like it. It's funny, for years the Packers put up with Favre, and for years the Steelers have put up with the drama induced by Ben Roethlisberger. For a month, Russell Wilson's been a pain in the butt. I think it's time for Pete Carroll to get thicker skin. Be that as it may, I thought about this morning. By the way, I love millennials. Love young peeps. Love them. And I've been in the business 30 years. But I do see, and I think there's more talent than ever in my business. But I do see something occasionally from millennials. So if I can, let me offer this. Sometimes, nobody's going to apologize to you. It's got to deal with crap. Sometimes there's no resolution for problems. I know your mom told you people are nice, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes you got to work with them. And you can rush to Twitter and Instagram and demand an apology, but mostly it's false. If they really cared, they would have apologized earlier, and it's a false apology. They're playing you. Deal with it. There is not always resolution for all your little problems. If I own the Seahawks, I'd say, just play. Who cares if you don't like each other? Kobe and Phil had moments they hated each other. Belichick and Brady had tension for 10 years. Didn't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but Bill Parcells and Phil Simms, that was never comfortable. Who says you have to be best friends? Bruce Arians and Brady squabbled until Thanksgiving last year. There's this sense in America that everything has to be resolved. And you're owed an apology. And you cannot have tension in a relationship. My wife and I have tension all the time. Then we get over it. She goes, hangs out with her friends. I go hang out with mine. We avoid each other for a day. It's life. Who says there's any guarantee when you get married you don't have a bad weekend or a bad month? Are you going to break up every time you fight? This idea that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll have to live in harmony, that is so 2021. It's not the way the world works. It's never been the way the world works. Michael Jordan didn't get along for his entire career in Chicago with his general manager. He often fought with Pippen. Rodman drove him crazy. So, Kobe and Shaq didn't always get along. They have to be best friends. Brady acknowledged. I thought this was kind of amazing. Do you know Brady and Belichick in 20 years never went to dinner once? Isn't that crazy? Crazy. So what? They won like 6 Super Bowls. Who cares? Russell and Pete, we're going to have tension for a year. If I own the Seahawks, I'd say, listen, I love you both. Just let it play out. Sometimes, by the way, problems sort of disappear. You go on a 6-game winning streak, suddenly you like each other again. You get a raise, she gets a raise at work. She comes home and buys you a gift. Suddenly you like each other again. You have a great night out, cocktails, music, go to a lounge. Well, you're over it. Tension's okay. You're not always going to get an apology. Life's not always simple. There's tension all the time in your life and my life. Sometimes, work your way through it. I'm not trading Russell Wilson. I also don't want to fire Pete Carroll. You kids go work it out on the side. Get ready for the season. All right, coming up next, the New York Jets said yesterday that they are going, said they're going to take calls for Sam Darnold. They're going to trade Sam Darnold. And there's this is a very good quarterback class. There's a lot of really talented quarterbacks. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Justin Fields. I like Trey Lance. Zach Wilson, I think, is an NFL quarterback. I think he's a tad overstated, but whatever. But here is the frightening part, and history tells you if the Jets move off Darnold, they're in for more misery. I'll explain that coming up. You suffer from an overly weighted plantar aspect, otherwise known as a lead foot. Do goosebumps spontaneously appear for no reason? You suddenly break out with fierce white-knuckled fits of enthusiasm. If so, Mercedes-AMG may be right for you. Meticulously tested, obsessively crafted for those who drive to feel alive. Mercedes-AMG has over 50 years of proven track-tested research and development. So whether you favor the timeless elegance of a Mercedes sedan, or you like the rock-solid ruggedness of one of their SUVs, or the charisma, the curviness of a two-door coupe, it's what I've got. Mercedes-AMG remains the leader of engineered driving performance, unparalleled measures of exhilaration. So stop living with uninspired handling and take control of your senses. Call your local authorized dealer or visit mbusa.com/AMG. Find out if Mercedes-AMG is right for you. I did. I love it. Mercedes-AMG. Driving performance.